Hi everyone, All Smiles here, the internet's busiest music nerd. And it's time for a review of the new Carter's album, Everything Is Love. Jay-Z and Beyonce, the Carters, they are back with a new full-length collaborative album, which they dropped in the middle of last month. Kind of piqued my interest around the time, especially given that Jay and B are responsible for a few of my favorite albums over the past few years, 444 and Lemonade, both of which were each artist's most personal and vulnerable albums to date, also going pretty deep into the relationship issues that they were suffering through at the time, which kind of made for an interesting soap opera for fans. And on this new album of theirs, I was kind of hoping that the Carters would continue on this thoughtful, semi-conceptual, and emotionally in-tune trend, but unfortunately Everything Is Love does no such thing. Instead, this album is kind of like a less interesting Watch the Throne. It's extravagant, it's out of touch, and it's occasionally awkward too. I mean, the whole thing starts off well enough with the song Summer, which is a sexy and lavish celebration of Jay-Z and Beyonce's love for one another, set to some very ritzy and soulful organs and guitar and drums. Beyonce likening her love for Jay-Z to an ocean. It's sweet. It's deep, the track gets prettier and more luxurious as it goes along, and while Jay-Z's verse on the track is cute, it's endearing, it's really Beyonce's incredibly sensual vocals that sell the whole thing. And while, again, this is a pretty good start to the album, actually has me looking forward to the entire thing, it doesn't take very long for this record to take a nosedive on the track Ape Shit. I mean, some of the Jay-Z lines on here are pretty sharp, like the Chief Keef, Rafiki, Who's Your Lion King line was pretty great, but like with some of the tracks on Magna Carta Holy Grail, trying to fit Jay-Z into some of these more modern trap stylings is kind of just an awkward fit. And when you add Beyonce into the mix, it's just 2 times as awkward, especially with her lyrics on this track being some of the most boring or ridiculous on the entire record. Give me that vitamin D! It's unintentionally hilarious. I pretty much feel the same way about the song Nice. It's kind of like this slow, off-kilter, detuned trap banger. It's weird, it's woozy, but Jay-Z kind of raps on top of it like it's any other beat. I can't help but feel like this instrumental would have been so much greater had a rapper who was maybe a bit more left field do something just a bit riskier on top of it. Also that, and I'm nice, 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 nice refrain that he does on this track is just absolutely ridiculous. The track is kind of the polar opposite to Ape Shit in that it's Beyonce who actually sounds like she's saving the track, even with that kind of odd execution of a half-baked reference on the first verse. Her second round on the track goes so much better. I guess Pharrell had his hand in both of the beats on these tracks too. I mean, it's some of his most lackluster production in a while. It doesn't even have that trademark Pharrell sound, which I think would have complemented Jay-Z and Beyonce better. Stylistically, the song Boss feels a bit more in Jay-Z and Beyonce's wheelhouse. It's contemporary, but allows both of them to exist in that rich and braggadocious mid-paced bling-era headspace that they both came up in. It's classy, it's wrapped in these sweet vocal harmonies, lots of rich pianos and big horn hits too. It sounds real expensive, though the jab at other rappers who are really prideful in Jay-Z's verse doesn't quite make sense because it seems like he's also exemplifying that same kind of pride in his own lyrics, just because other rappers kind of want to pave their own way, do their own thing, try to be their own boss, even if they don't end up succeeding. The song 713 is kind of another highlight on here. It hits hard, it's definitely one of the catchier tracks, but I do think a lot of its appeal kind of boils down to what Jay-Z and Beyonce borrow from the Dr. Dre song Still. From the hook to the kind of plinky pianos in the instrumental, which aren't the same, but it sounds like they were kind of inspired. I mean, this track is definitely better than a lot of the other cuts on here where Jay-Z and Beyonce are just trying so hard to sound hip, but I'm just kind of convinced as to why Jay-Z and Beyonce are going this far to illustrate, like, yeah, we're putting it down. I mean, who are they trying to convince? Because it just kind of seems like a logical inconsistency that Jay-Z and Beyonce go to such great lengths to hoist themselves up high, kind of portray themselves as gods whose mere presence is a gift to us mere mortals. But hey, they're also like down to earth, they're grassroots, they're organic. The song Friends is a kind of sad, slow, pretty, Weeknd-influenced R&B slow jam about how the Carters' friend group is really, really small. Okay, so they're not making any new friends. I'm not really seeing what's so interesting about that, because typically when a rapper writes a song in this style, you kind of get these themes of trust and paranoia that pour through really strongly in the lyrics and the vibe of the song, but it's just not here. For the most part, it just kind of sounds like they're not making new friends because they're pretentious, which the song Heard About Us just oozes with pretentiousness to the point where I just can't even stomach it. Also, that calling me dad kiddingly line, like, Jesus Christ, it's the internet, dude. It's the internet. The song Black Effect is certainly a highlight for me on this record. I like the sharp, smart, and sassy Afrocentric lyricism throughout the track. Love the references to MLK Boulevard and Malcolm X. I love Jay-Z and Beyonce's energy together on this song. This is one of the few cuts here where it sounds like they are literally performing and executing this track together, singing together, rapping together, trading bars together, bouncing off of and complementing one another. There are few other songs on this album where it seems like Jay-Z and Beyonce are this closely woven into one another, which is kind of a shame. I wish we could have heard more cuts executed like this on this album. The song Love Happy is kind of an assuring finish to the album for those who might have been wondering, hey, I mean, you guys, like, romantically, are you still okay? It's one of the more extravagant and soulful instrumentals on the record. Beyonce kind of insists that the ups and downs of Jay-Z and her relationship is worth it. It doesn't really seem like a significant proclamation of love or a renewal of vows or anything like that. It seems mostly kind of like a pat on the head for the audience who just might have been curious if things are okay. Overall, I'm very happy that Jay-Z and Beyonce have been able to move past their relationship woes and get a collaborative record together. But the final result over here is very inconsistent, it's very spotty, it's pretty underwhelming. It feels like it mostly relies on its star power to garner interest in itself, much of which has dissipated since the release of this album. There's not a whole lot in terms of like essential material on this record for either artist, and generally I just don't really see the hype. I'm kind of feeling a light to decent 5 on this thing. Transition, have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like, please subscribe, and please don't cry. Just leave a comment in the comments if you're feeling full of thoughts. Over here next to my head is another video that you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Jay-Z, Beyonce, the Carters, everything is love forever.